I'm fresh off the water at my first foil experience, and I thought I would just give you some feedback on what's going on with this lot. It's not the kind of sport you're going to find an instructor on every corner. I've chosen quite a different approach to the, what most guys have been doing for getting onto a foil and getting flying, as they call it. It's highly recommended that you get towed behind a boat. Everyone says that. Or if you're coming out of the karting scene, that you get onto your foil on a kart. Not this foil. Karting foil is quite different, I'll show you later. I didn't want any of that. I kart, but I haven't foiled yet on a kart. I wanted to have a surfing experience with a foil. I have chosen a board that I thought would work. It's a board that I make. It's an 8-foot board, it's high volume. You can stand up paddle on it if you're good enough, but it's more of a performance surfboard than anything else, and it's what we are doing at Slidecraft. It's the business I've set up to make these boards. The foil, straight out of South Africa, Nasna, a guy by the name of Ido Meyers making the foils. So this is a surf foil. To give you an idea, this is a kite foil. Quite a different cup of tea, a lot smaller the kite foil. You're going faster on a kite, so the speed's giving you the extra lift. The surfing scene, you want to ride a lot slower. You want to make, to be doing turns. You need a much higher lift foil. Ido's the guy to speak to if you want all that technical stuff. He is super clued up on what he's doing here with this lot. You're building aeroplanes. It's not something that everybody's going to be doing in their garage. You can give it a go, but Ido's the man, I can promise you that much. As for the actual foil setup, super easy. 4 Allen key bolts, and you've got this thing flat packed and not a drama in the back of your car. Why did I choose an 8-foot board? Guys are going a lot shorter. In the karting scene they're using low volume boards, no volume. A very different sport. Surfing, yes, you can go on your 6-foot board and paddle in on steeper waves. This thing is tricky to learn. There's very little room for error, but the learning curve is not that bad. I chose to go the surfing route because I wanted a surfing learning experience on the foil. I didn't want to go behind the boat, I didn't want to go behind the kart. I wanted to learn and enjoy the learning curve in the ocean. I very cleverly chose a really good spot to learn. It's in the Richards Bay Harbour. They call it Pelican Island. You can go there when the swell's really big, and then it gets more exciting. On an average day with some sort of swell around, you're getting a 1 to 2 foot, maybe half a foot. I had it at about half a foot to 1 foot, which is not really enough power to get you up and riding. But thank goodness, because this thing has its own power source. It gets energy from the ocean like you've never experienced. It will buck you off like a horse, and I'm not exaggerating. It will throw you in the sky. It will take your feet from under you before you have any time to react, and you end up nicely rolled over this rail here. I had 3 experiences where, I would say it was like, what the hell. I got bucked once, I ended up lying over the rail twice, and then because I'd done my homework and tried to figure this thing out before I got on the water, I very quickly adapted to it. So my first experience, never behind a boat, never behind a kite, went really well. What I did learn is that You do not want to be standing anywhere near the back of the board. I knew that going into it and stood far forward, but not far enough. You want to be safe, you want to be standing very forwards. The trick is to be on the center line, nose to tail center line of the board. And Ido was just telling me that it's a 2 to 3 centimeter window, that you need to be in, which is like nothing. I mean, it's like not even at half a toe. Ido recommended that I draw a line down the nose to tail center line of the board, and then also mark where your front foot's going to be. I totally agree with that, and I will definitely do something, especially if you're going to be learning this way, where you're paddling in. You stand up and you need to be in the right place. There is zero room for error. Your feet get swiped out from underneath you before you can even blink an eye. Oh, that was the other one. You land flat on your face in the water if you're not being wrapped over the rail. And you want to learn in small stuff. How you get to learn in waves that you can surf, with the shortboard, I have no idea. I think you're just looking for trouble doing that. I chose not to stand up paddle, and thank goodness, because I don't know where that paddle would go when these things are all happening. And it's great that guys are learning on the stand up setup, but I would strongly recommend that you keep behind a boat if you're going to have any extra items on board. If you can, if you're going to have a paddle in your hands, then you want to have a feel for this thing before you take it on. I went for an 8-foot high volume board because I wanted to learn in small stuff, and I also don't want foiling to interfere with my surfing. If there's waves that you can surf, well, then go surfing. If you're not a surfer, fair enough. Do what you do. The kind of waves I want to ride are the waves that are on outer reefs, places like Pelican Island, where it's not really a surfing wave, it's a longboarding and a learning wave. It's really hard there to on a really exceptional day you'll get to surf there, but on your average day it's beautiful running swells with long lines, but just not enough power in them to really rip it on really tear it up on a surfboard. The high volume 2, you're getting you're paddling into a wave really easy. You're catching something that's barely breaking, and then obviously everything is a lot simpler, safer if you want. And for me, a big thing with high volume boards is they're a lot bigger. I call them big boards. You feel comfortable when you're out there in the middle of nowhere. On your little 6-foot board, you're not going to feel great, dangling your feet in the water when you're in the middle of nowhere on waves that you're going to try foil in. Never mind that you may not even catch the, swells or, waves that are just flat and got a bit of foam on top. So a good route to go for foiling. I would say down to a 7.0, high volume, you're still going to be okay to paddle, and that's the average weight guy. I'm sitting at 95 kgs, that's before I put my wetsuit on and whatever else. The actual experience of catching a wave is no different to surfing. You don't want to be, like I said, on a really pitchy wave. You want to be catching something that's gentle, and then you can go straight, no problem. Make sure it's deep enough. Depth is an issue. You got this is a 70 centimeter mast. You need waist deep. For me, it's my waist. If it's not that deep, you're going to have issues with the bottom, hitting. Just at Pelican Island, I had to walk out quite a bit, all paddle around in the deeper water. Catching the wave, no problem. You can ride it just like you would surf it. But when you want this thing to fly, you need to do something to get it up, and that's a technique. You can check it out on the internet, just watch any video and you see the guys kind of do a bit of a pop, once again, not too far back on the board, because all they do is throw you off the back. You need the speed to get it up. Yesterday was not a day that I would say I was foiling properly. But what I did experience, besides getting thrown off the thing a few times, was that I could almost skim just above the water. And you could sense that this thing was going a lot faster than, because I surf this board, I know how it feels. And this is a performance surfboard for me. It's not some board that doesn't surf well. I know how the board is without the foil, I know how the board now is with the foil. And there's this release that happens once you get it out the water. But that's, if there was something I learned yesterday, it was that you need the speed, you need a fair bit of power in the wave. You're flying an aeroplane here, you're not really surfing as such. You need the speed to do something. You can't just take off from the runway with no speed. And what I learned was a lot more forwards on the board, get the speed, and then start to do something. Whether you're riding out straight in front of the foam, more than likely it's going to be foam, or the little swell, or you're pointing down the line. Whatever you choose to do, they all work. As long as the wave's not pitching and throwing you over the falls, which again, you don't want to be near that stuff. That's just hazardous. That'll probably come later when you know what you're up to. But forwards on the board, get the speed, feel a bit of power behind you pushing, and then start to take off. Exactly like a pilot would do, I guess, in a plane. And then you are more in control. And you will start to sense, what's going on. I had a few times where I got this thing out the water, but I must tell you, when this thing gets out, yes, it's only 70 centimeters, but let me tell you, when you're standing on it, it feels like you're a whole story up. It's I wouldn't say nerve-wracking. I mean, I kite, we go in the air, but it's from the surfing experience, it's very different. To be riding, I'm not talking about doing airs and all of that stuff, but to be riding above the water, it's what you do this for. My generation of water sports guys have said, why do we need to do this now? We've had windsurfing, we've had kite surfing, we've had stand-up paddling, we've been surf ski paddling and surfing in between all that. Why do we need this thing? What's the thrill here? It looks like you just, skim across the surface of the water and don't do much. Not much turning, not much this, not much that. In the words of Robbie Nash, there's a hell of a lot going on under your feet, and it's that challenge and that sensation of flying above the water. You get to ride places that you wouldn't ride. You get to ride on high tide days where you'd be sitting at home playing PlayStation or doing what you do at home. If you want more water time, here's it. If you're waiting for the swell and the tide to come round so that you can go for your surf, here's it. This is the thing. It's about the sensation of flying, I guess, more than anything else. All the fancy tricks and that, or whatever you're going to do, there's a lot to be seen with, where the sport's heading. If you look at Dave Kalama's son, I think it is, they're doing crazy stuff already. But yeah, that's down the line for most of us. But I don't think you want to try and turn this into surfing. It's not what it's about at all. It's another way to enjoy the ocean, to enjoy the waves, the power of the swells. Where do I think foiling is heading? It's been around with karting for a long time. Pretty much most of the race karting tour now is on foil. The surfing scene with this sort of surf foil is fairly new. A lot of it coming out of Hawaii, as it would. And it's where it goes is where it goes. Guys are having great fun having these on their stand-up boards. A lot of the young guys are on their surfboards with it and doing good stuff. Will it go mainstream? It definitely has in karting. Down the line, what can we expect? a lot of hype has been around the downwind scene, which we haven't really experienced, even having, you know, the good Cape Town downwinders. We haven't seen much happening. There's a lot of issues as to why that's not growing. I think largely because of the boards that guys are on. To get to the wind a lot of the time and to the wind swell, you need to paddle out quite far into the ocean, and then you're on this long big board which doesn't really foil well. Generally in foiling, the smaller your board, the better it is for foiling, because you're trying to fly an aeroplane underneath your board. The bigger your board is, the more you're fighting the board to fly the plane. The downwind foil is, you know, when I say foil, all that you're changing really is your wings, you know, front and back. This is the kiting wing, you know, a lot smaller than the surf shape wing. Then the downwind wing is somewhere in between this, but also quite a bit different. I'm not sure what Ido's doing for a downwind wing. I'm pretty sure he's working on something, if not already got. What does interest me a lot is what's happening on the flat water foiling side. And it interests me because I'm inland. There's a lot of dams around here, and you know, to be able to foil on flat water would be amazing. But what that also means is that if you can pump foil, which is, you know, having no swell or anything, guys are getting towed in with bungees or whatever, pulled in by their mates to get the thing flying. But once you're up and going, you're using pump energy to keep the show going, you know. And they're doing it on small boards. It seems like it's happening on the foils that the windsurfing guys are using. And but what I think is not being linked is that if you can pump foil in flat water, that same foil in a downwind is going to be pretty much a game changer, in my opinion. Especially if you can pump out to where, you know, the wind is and the wind swell is. You know, things change a lot. You're not going out on a big board, yes or no, taking a paddle with you just to help stay on the runs, but you can pump the board on its own. The thing is, you know, you'd paddle out, get onto a little swell on the shore break area, you know, sort of mid break, catch a little swell, and then pump out the back of that and get out to the wind. I think it's still a long way off, but there's a French crowd doing it. Two brothers got a business going there with foils, and they are flat water foiling. I'm super keen to get a foil on a windsurfer. I think it's a game changer for windsurfing. I stopped windsurfing to start kiting, just because of all the gear and all of that. During that time, the Formula race boards, there's one up there, kind of took over the scene. Big 7-meter sails, you know, 80 wide boards, and you know, etc. Light wind sailing brought life back into windsurfing, but I think it was a little bit too late for the sport in the country. Putting the foil in instead of a normal fin gives you your light wind gear. You're going out on your 5.7. In light winds, the wind picks up, you stay on your 5.7, you put your normal windsurfing fin in, you're back on the water, doing all your flat water freestyle jumps, chop jumps, whatever you want. So a simple rig like that, you know, with the right wing for windsurfing, is giving you a huge wind range with the same gear. You got your freestyle board with a foil in for light winds. You're owning a 5.7. Damn, I mean, that's a game changer, especially inland here where winds are gusty and that, for kiting and kite foiling. I think it's going to bring life back into windsurfing. You don't have to wait around for the 25 knots to get on the water. You're going in your 15 knots, 10 to 15 knots, and you're cruising around having a hell of a lot of fun. So I look forward to my next time out. Definitely going to try to find a bit more swell back at Pelican Island, I'm sure. but super amped.